4 years ago, I was living in Atlanta, which is actually where I'm from. Anybody? No? Good for you. Congratulations. It's a good start. And in the second week of January, I met my guru, started on my spiritual path with yoga and meditation, and fell in love with an Indian woman who I ended up marrying. Pretty solid week, I think. Really, you guys must have great weeks in your life. You're like, that sucks. Good week for me, thanks. And the thing is, I wasn't looking for any of that stuff. I didn't believe in gurus or meditation or yoga. And I'm Indian, which is steeped in yogic culture, but I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, where I think based on that, is not known as a spiritual center of anything, except racism. Seriously, you can learn some good racism in Atlanta, so if you're looking to broaden. Cheaper cost of living, too, really. And I wasn't interested in marrying a brown girl because up until that point I had only dated white women because I wanted to be a white guy because I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was stupid. But all this stuff just started happening. A friend told me about this yogi from India who was coming to give a talk, and I thought it was total bullshit, so I went out of pure skepticism. And it turns out he's one of the most beautiful human beings on the planet, and he was just kind of ripping my soul apart with all of this amazing knowledge about what life was really about and what yoga really meant. And on top of that, there was this Indian goddess who, no matter how hard I tried to just pay attention to the teachings, I couldn't help but keep looking at her. I'm looking at you, sir. You are stunning. And she was literally the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen in my life. And get this, she comes up and talks to me at the end of class one night because I ended up signing up for the program, which started the next day. And it turns out that she's this budding yogi because she's been studying yoga for 15 years. She owns a yoga company that makes yoga clothes for women. I guess men usually don't wear yoga clothes unless you're in LA where they wear them a lot. And I am just a broke-ass actor / computer programmer on the side who's been nothing but an abject disappointment to my parents. But now all of a sudden, in the course of a week, I find a guru and I'm practicing yoga and I meet this incredible brown girl, which is literally, maybe not literally, but probably my parents' wet dream. And one day I'll confirm that with them. So I'm really winning right now, And I can't believe it. It feels like everything is just lining up for me all of a sudden, and I meet this rich, wealthy, beautiful woman, and it just feels like kismet. Nothing could possibly be wrong with this except all of the warning signs that I didn't see along the way while I was dating her. For example, she told me repeatedly just how much pressure she was getting from her family to get married because she was already at the ripe old maid age of 28, which in my culture is apparently quite old to get married. And I find out on my own that just a month before she meets me, she broke off an engagement with another guy. I'm not sure why that didn't work out, but that should have been a red flag. And then repeatedly she told me that she was just so sick of working so hard and building this business, she just wanted to drop the whole thing and move to our guru's ashram in India and just become a monk. And none of that stuff threw up the obvious red flags to me because I was so blinded in love, and I just saw her as this incredibly perfect Indian woman, and we were this incredibly perfect Indian couple. I would be an actor and we'd practice yoga together and she'd make all this great money and our parents would just be so proud of us, and it was great. And so we dated for 4 months and got engaged, and then we got married 3 months after that, which, if you're an Indian, the sheer thought of planning and executing a wedding in 3 months is pure insanity because a proper Indian wedding takes at least minimum 1 year to plan and hype and brag about to everybody in your community. But I was a computer programmer, and I just thought, this is a very efficient program that we have going on right here. So I was very happy, which made me miss the last warning sign. I went to her family's house to ask for their permission to marry, which you don't do when you're Indian. That's stupid. You do that if you're American. So I get there and I, pop the question to them. And her mom's first question to me is, how much money do you make? And I'm such an asshole that I think she's joking and thinking that we're getting along really well because she's joking around with me already, until she slides a piece of paper and a pen across the coffee table and says that I can write it down if I'm uncomfortable saying it out loud. And I do. I wrote it down and I slid it back, and then I watched them shame me in their language, which I didn't even understand, but you know when you're being shamed. But I still didn't know that anything was wrong. I thought we were just gonna be perfect. Until my wedding day. Now, round of applause because I can't see you. Anybody been to an Indian wedding? No. Okay, so good. Here's how it's laid out. You guys are down here, and I am up here on a dais on a stage. Hindu priest, we've got a little fire going right here, and the way it is there's a seat, say right there, for where my future wife is going to be sitting, but I'm out there first because there's preparation that has to be done. I am facing her family. They're like right there where that tin is, and behind me is my family, because when we get married, it symbolizes that I am marrying her and her family, she's marrying me and my family. It's a very beautiful thing, except when I look at her family/beer tank, there's nothing but misery on every face. There aren't tears of joy, tears of sorrow. There's just, I don't know if it's anger. I think that she told everybody how much money I make and they were really upset about it. I'm not sure what it was, but there was no pleasure at all. And then all of a sudden, like, this voice, very loud and clear, just goes through my head, and it just says, "You're making a huge mistake." And I don't believe in God. I mean, I'm spiritual now, but I don't know where I stand still with the whole concept of God, so I don't know if I believe in the voice of God, but it's very clear. And all of a sudden, like, all the warning signs just like flash through my head, like, the marriage pressure and the broken engagement and the monkhood and the money shaming and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh fuck, this is a serious mistake. And you guys everybody is out there and they're ready for this thing to start. And the Hindu priest is saying all this stuff in Sanskrit, and things are happening, and flowers are being placed around my head. And I just turn around and I look back at my family, and I'm just hoping that like one of them sees the pure terror on my face and does something. I don't know what they're gonna do. And all I get back from my brother is, and I turn back around, and like evil dark magic, she's there, and it's on. Like stuff's being tied, and fires are being lit, and we're walking around it 7 times to signify we've been together 7 lifetimes, right? And that's it. We're married. So I think. Because the week after we got married, instead of going on our honeymoon, she has to go to Vancouver because that company, Lululemon, wants to talk to her about her maternity line of yoga clothes that she designed. They want to buy it. They want to buy her company, basically. And they like want her to come up and like help design it and shit. And so it's not that uncommon for Indian couples to not go on a honeymoon right after. So I found out. And I've got to pack up my apartment anyway, right? And so the wedding certificate comes from the temple, but it's not signed. The priest forgot to sign it, I guess, or whatever. And so I call my wife, I think, and I tell her, she's like, oh yeah, you just gotta, call him and find out what's going on. And so I'm about to call him, and my brother calls, and I tell him what's going on. He goes, oh, well, you're not married. What? Yeah, you're not married in Georgia. If the certificate's not signed, you're not married. I was like, how the fuck do you know this? You're 5 years younger than me. You don't know anything at all. He goes, because it just happened to my friend. He got married and they got the certificate and it wasn't signed, and his wife freaked out and they had to go to the church and get it signed. And I'm like, shut up. And so I call my best friend from college, who's an attorney in Atlanta, and it's true. I'm not married at all. I'm legally not married. And then the voice of God comes back to me, and it's like, you should move to LA. What? What the fuck? I can't move to LA. But I start thinking about it, and I can, because like my apartment is packed up, and like everybody around me knows that I'm moving already. So I'm a computer programmer. I work from home all the time. They don't care where I am at all. Like, I can actually do this. And you would think it would be really hard to schedule a move to LA. It took one phone call and 12 minutes. I called the moving company that was moving me. They're like, oh, well, we can pick up a day early if you want, because we have a truck going to LA and you don't have that much stuff, so we can easily put you in. And I said yes. I just said yes. And I wrote a letter to my wife, who is now my girlfriend, soon to be my ex-girlfriend, and I left it in her giant house. And I got in my car and I drove to LA and I got a condo in Toluca Lake, like in a day. And it was just that easy to do. And I had never left Atlanta my entire life. And look, I'm not proud of the way I escaped my marriage by any stretch of the imagination. Like, yes, I get that I got up on a technicality, but there's nothing okay about what I did. And there isn't a day that goes by that I don't have like huge regrets, because I hurt my family, my mom and my dad, hugely embarrassed, you know, because all our Indian friends that knew me since I was like this big, we're all there. And the gifts had to go back, and you know, everybody was really, really upset. And to say that it was awkward and uncomfortable, a little bit of understatement, because my ex-girlfriend, as it turns out, very wealthy, knew lots of lawyers. They tried to sue me for emotional and financial distress because the Lululemon deal fell through, and she blamed me. It's not funny. It's not funny. But she blamed me because of all the stuff that happened while the deal was going down. And I regret it. I really do. I don't like the way I handled it. But I know a lot of people who are very unhappily married. And my parents were very unhappily married. They got divorced when I was 12. My dad's remarried very unhappily right now. My mom got remarried and was so unhappily remarried, she got re-divorced. It's like, I don't know what's better, like being a chicken shit and scooting out of town unannounced, or just sucking it up and dealing with a really shitty marriage. I guess I'll just let you guys decide that.